We continue to follow breaking news involving a school bus-involved accident in St. Lucie County.
Let's listen to a news conference with the Florida Highway Patrol.
Bus, again, it'll be part of the investigation as to whether the young man who was deceased was wearing his seatbelt or not.
This is Lieutenant Jeff Johnson with the Florida Highway Patrol, who is telling us that one child has died in this accident.
Again, the St. Lucie County school bus was on State Road 70 here. Was making a left turn to go on to Midway. A sod truck fully loaded with sod was traveling on State Road 70. The bus made a left turn in front of the sod truck. There was an impact to the right rear side of the bus. The tractor trailer overturned onto the shoulder, and the bus spun around on its wheels and came to a stop facing north on Midway Road.
And as you said a moment ago, sir, it appears the school bus driver was at fault in the accident?
It appears that from the witness that we had that the school bus made the left turn in front of the tractor trailer.
What charge do you anticipate against the school bus driver?
Again, right now it's still under investigation. Until the investigation is completely done, we hold off on the charges.
Can you walk us through how many children were injured? As I understand, there also was one fatality.
Yes, we had 10 children that were transported to Lawnwood, had 3 children that were transported to St. Mary's in Palm Beach County. The other children who weren't injured were taken over to the EOC, and they were released to their parents at that.
And regarding the fatality, sir, tell us about that.
One male child that was inside the bus that was deceased at the time of the crash, and in the process of doing the next of kin notification at this time. So.
And how many children were on the bus? Do we know? We have a number?
We're around 29 or 30. We're still trying to verify that exact number with the help of the school board and everything. We'll make sure we get that shored up. So.
And again, those 3 children that were airlifted from the scene, their injuries?
2 are in stable and 1 is in serious condition at St. Mary's, but they advise of no life-threatening injuries.
So that's at least one bit of good news.
Yes.
Do you expect all the other children to survive, the ones who were injured?
At this time, I haven't heard anything else as far as the extent of the other injuries. We do have one of our troopers there at the hospital verifying the names and making sure the parents are being notified. So once we get that information, we'll know a little bit more.
Was speeding a factor in this accident?
At this point in time, it doesn't appear to be. Obviously on the part of the school bus, it wouldn't be because of making the left turn. Again, once they do their road measurements and that kind of thing, that the THI will be able to determine the speed of the truck.
So far as you know, all the children have been reunited with their parents, or are there still some here at the EOC?
No, everyone at the EOC has been reunited, and I know the parents were on their way down to St. Mary's for the 3 children there. So.
Have you been able to interview the school bus driver?
I don't know at this time whether the investigator, because we've got 3 investigators out here, so 1 was doing interviews, 2 are doing measurements, so I'm not sure who they've interviewed at this time.
Is the driver here at the scene still, the bus driver?
No, the bus driver was transported, so.
Did the sun setting have had an impact, or was blocked the driver's view?
No, at the time that we got here, the sun was still up pretty high in the sky.
Did you say the children were wearing seatbelts on the bus?
From the one witness that did go into the bus to help the children, that it appeared to them that the children were wearing seatbelts, that several were unconscious, and then they assisted them off the bus.
What about the fatality? Was he buckled in?
At this time, we haven't determined that. We're still through the investigation work on that.
Overall, what is your reaction, sir, in general, just to seeing this?
It's anytime children are involved, it's a bad thing, it always is a tragedy especially when children are involved. But everybody worked really well together. The fire department, sheriff's office, highway patrol, working in unison to make sure that victims were taken care of. The families were kept up to date as to what was going on and everything. So,
how long do you expect to be here on the scene?
We'll probably at least another couple hours. Obviously, we've got to get the truck uprighted. once they finished the measurements and pictures and everything. So
you're talking about the witness who went on the bus first. Is that just a passing driver who stopped and went on?
Yeah, we had a truck driver that was a witness, and another lady who was on Midway that saw the aftermath of the crash and stopped to help. So.
And they went into the bus to help the children?
Yes.
Thank you. That's Lieutenant Jeff Johnson with Florida Highway Patrol. That's Lieutenant Jeff Johnson with the Florida Highway Patrol confirming for us that there was one fatality on board this school bus. 14 children injured, taken to various hospitals. But again, one child from Francis Suite did die in this accident. Again, you can see FHP, Sheriff's Office, Fire Rescue, all still here on scene. Will be here for many more hours as they try to figure out again everything that happened. But at this point, you heard from Lieutenant Johnson of FHP that it appears at this point that the school bus was heading east and was attempting to turn onto Midway Road and was heading west, attempted to turn onto Midway Road, and then was hit by an eastbound semi-truck. The bus then spun around. From what we understand, the bus never flipped over, but the bus spun around, one child dying from the impact. Guys, back to you in the studio.
It's absolutely heartbreaking, and we heard from the lieutenant that they were notifying next of kin right now. John, was there any other detail given from the Florida Highway Patrol about maybe where this child was on the bus? Anything else that, you know, caused him to die? And thankfully, what it seems like for the other children, no major life-threatening injuries, at least not from the ones taken to St. Mary's, is what we had heard him say.
Right, exactly. That was some apparent good news there, that the two of the three children that were flown were listed in a stable condition, the other in serious condition. We do not know where that child was or whether or not he was buckled in, but obviously he was not in a good place in the bus, and then the impact, again, spinning the bus around. So where it looks like, you know, if Jason pans over there, it looks like the bus is going to try to head out into the intersection. Well, apparently it's completely flipped around from where it was, as it was heading south to go onto Midway Road, where it collided with that semi-truck.
Yes, and at this point we have a vantage point from Chopper 5 that obviously you can't have, and we're seeing what you're describing, John. And then 10 taken to Lawnwood, 3 to St. Mary's. The 3 at St. Mary's, 2 stable, 1 serious condition, but they do believe that they'll make it non-life-threatening injuries for them, they say at this hour, John.
Absolutely, Michael. Again, just heartbreaking to hear that there is a confirmed fatality on the bus. And again, we asked the question whether or not all the children were buckled up, and we need to do a little bit of research whether or not seatbelts, A, are required on school buses, and B, whether or not children are supposed to be buckled in, and whether or not that had anything to do with this one fatality in this case. But again, that's the situation here. More than a dozen children injured and 1 fatality here in Midway and Okeechobee, west of Fort Pierce.
John Shaman live for us on the scene, and we'll continue to update you as new developments arise following what has now turned into a tragic scene after the loss of a young boy who was on this school bus involved in this accident this afternoon around 4 o'clock.